Hello everyone and everything, and welcome back to more Hollow Knight. In the last episode, we returned here to Godhome, and we went down to the Hall of Gods and absolutely stunted on every boss in the second Pantheon, save for the one waiting for us at the end. And since we did such rigorous preparations for this Pantheon, I think I'm going to take this on with a bit of a twist. I am going to do my best to tackle this with all 4 bindings. As a refresher, this means that our nails damage will be significantly decreased. We will only have 5 masks, I believe, if not 4. Actually, I'll find out here in just a second.
Thou most ungrateful of blemishes, the gods in their great mercy allow thee to escape their first pantheon alive. Yet still ye think to test thyself against their might. Doom thyself then, that we may resume our focus and set our minds ever higher.
I like the idea that we're just completely messing with everything these guys are doing. But yes, we are going in with only 4 masks, only a third of a basic soul. No charms whatsoever, and heavily diminished damage. Everything in here is going to be way harder. This is basically the toughest test you can put yourself to as far as these Pantheons go. But in a lot of ways, people consider the second Pantheon to be easier than the first. So if you do want to try it for yourself, the second is honestly what I recommend. We're already pretty well through this first fight here. And you can really tell just how much easier having done this on Radiant makes these bosses. Just the fact that the arena is whole here instead of being segmented into the platforms that it is on his Ascended fight makes this entire fight pretty much a cakewalk. But we are going to have to be really on our toes for every single one of these fights if we are going to take on this whole Pantheon the way that we are outfitted. The 4 bindings challenge is absolutely not necessary, I have to say. There is a reward for taking on the Pantheon with some bindings on, but you can just as easily do them one at a time and get the reward. The only difference there is that you'll be doing 4 attempts instead of 1. However, you'll most likely be winning them instead of losing them, so honestly I think that's going to be the smarter way to go. I'm just doing it this way because I do want to show off how different it makes these fights. Not having any charms, having our nail reduced essentially to as strong as it was back when we got its second upgrade. It's going to make everything here way tougher. You have to use a lot of spells if you want any of these fights to be over with in a remotely decent amount of time. If you are doing this without doing all 4 bindings, though, there are some ways you can pretty much counteract it. In my opinion, I'd say taking on the challenge with no charms is probably the easiest, because unless you are heavily reliant on a specific build, that's not going to change too much. Probably second easiest from there is going to be Reduced Soul, because you don't really have to rely on spells for any of the fights in this game, and so not having access to a lot of them is going to make pretty much everything easier except for healing. But if you are using the other ones, like having reduced health or reduced damage, you can counteract those with charms. If you've reduced your damage, you can still put on Fragile Strength and increase your damage, not back up to full, but definitely something more manageable. And if you've reduced your health, you can equip things like Unbreakable Heart to increase the amount of hits that you can otherwise take. And that was really clumsy. I don't like that. Just took 2 hits in a row. Now, this is probably the biggest issue with having Reduced Soul, is that no matter what, you're only going to be able to heal 1 mask at a time. So taking multiple hits in a row the way I just did is going to be a pretty hefty detriment. But as long as we play carefully, we should be just about alright. Now the Oblobles is something I'm definitely worried about, but as long as I do this really carefully, not like that, we should be able to plink our way through here slow and steady. I'm going to try my best to get up to full health before attacking these guys in earnest. And there we go. Okay, now the fight can begin proper. Have at you! Not like that. This is really stressful, actually. And if I can't do this in a couple of tries, I'm not going to force myself to. Doing an all bindings challenge, like I said, is so completely unnecessary that it's not even something that I'm going to do for all of the Pantheons. It's just something I'm doing now because, because we are practiced so heavily on the bosses going forward, and, like I said, this is the easiest Pantheon. I might do an all bindings challenge on the first Pantheon, if all goes smoothly on this attempt, and we have some time left. Because, of course, I do plan on getting all of the binding rewards, which is going to require us to beat every Pantheon with every binding. But slow and steady wins the race with these guys. This is probably the hardest fight in this Pantheon, in that I even include the final one. Or at least it's the hardest one to beat without taking a lot of undue damage. Or untoward damage? Undue? Anyway, whatever. But, no, shoot. Alright, at least I didn't waste my soul. We are going to ever so slightly pick our way through. This is probably not very exciting footage of this fight. I am not a pro Blobble fighter. But, as long as you're not doing this Radiant, these guys, like I said before and have said, will continue to say, they leave you plenty of time to heal. Yikes, that was pretty tight, I must say. And I'm really not worried about the next fight, because it is our old favorite, the Mantis Lords. So even if we go into that with 1 health, I am not at all worried about that. Speaking of having 1 health, I'm willing to go into the next fight with 1 health, but I'm not willing to be a part of this one with only 1 health. That is a bridge too far for me. Come on, mister. Or missus. As we know, you guys have type familiar balance between brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, all kinds, so your gender is completely indeterminate. Okay, and that is a great example of how much tougher these fights can be with all the bindings on. But that's probably the most I'm going to struggle here going forward, in all honesty. Now, here we are actually starting to see one downside of practice. We went into a lot of the fights with... Whoops, that's not good at all. We went into a lot of the fights downstairs in the Hall of the Gods, basically completely outfitted with a lot of charms. And this is basically my shortcoming here, is that I absolutely rely on Mark of Pride for a lot of the fights in this game. It is by far my favorite charm. It is pretty cheap for how much easier it makes a lot of things, and it makes just about everything easier. But when it comes to doing these challenges with no charms, you can probably notice that I am missing some of my nail pogos, especially. I have to get a little closer than I'm comfortable with. So, in all honesty, the best way to practice would be to do Radiant fights with no charms on. But I don't think that's entirely necessary. Getting through any of these fights in the Pantheon without getting hit is obviously going to be a very, very big boon to you. But you can get through any of these fights while still taking a couple of hits and just healing off the damage. I don't think that's going to be a big deal at all. So, I think, in the grand scheme of things, practicing with your charms on is going to be pretty okay, with the exception of one fight, and we'll get to that when we get to it. Ooh, one hit after the other. That feels nice. That means I was spreading my damage perfectly. Alright. Thank you, ladies. We've reached the halfway point. Not too much that we can do here. If you try and put on any charms here, it's just going to tell you, yeah, nope, nice try, bud. On we go to Marmu, and we are back in the easy arena, which means we are going to do this the easy way. And we can use some spells here. Those knock her back just as well. and we don't have to worry too much about taking damage, though healing in this fight is pretty tough, I have to admit, so we are going to put that off until next time. But doing our best to land some spells, as ever, going to save us as much time as possible. No! You didn't leave me with enough soul to heal! Dang it, Marmon. Alright, who's next? Oh, Nosk. Oh, you're gonna leave me with all the time to heal in the world. Yeah. Alright, there's not too much to this fight, of course. We can heal, we can shoot off some soul. This should be one of these attacks, and ooh, that's not great. But as ever, I am just anti-worried about losing this fight. Now I am realizing that the just increased length of these fights that we have already done ad nauseum to this point is making it pretty difficult to talk about. So I think, should we ever do more rematches of Pantheons, I'll probably just be speeding them up. I don't know. We'll see how I feel about that in just a little bit of time. Oh shoot, I was not expecting you to go all the way across. You are chasing me kind of relentlessly here. Yikes! Ooh, I should have gotten hit there, I think. Alright, you're done. You're just about done here, I think. You're well into your second phase. Let's just wrap this up, buddy. Shoot, I really wanted to land that. So I did try it both ways, you know, doing the practice first, then the arena second, or the Pantheon first and then the practice second. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do going forward. I think as we get into the tougher Pantheons, the bosses themselves are going to get a lot more interesting. But Nosk just has this one attack that kills me. Whoa, that was almost cheating. That was kind of cheating. Get out of here. Nosk just has this attack that takes extra time. Not a whole lot to it. Luckily we got Fluke Marm. I'm gonna try and heal off a mask here before we get started. Alright. There we go. Whoa. Get back up on top, and we are just about done already. Never mind. I fell. Shoot! Oh gosh! Oh no! No! Oh my gosh! This would be justice for Fluke Marm if she killed me here. Come on! You are not gonna kill me. Not you, of all things. All right, I'm gonna do my best to heal up at least 3 masks here. Let's try to not use a spell before we take her down. We should be able to heal up a 3rd. There we go. Okay, that was... You almost got me. That would have been so embarrassing. Honestly, Fluke Worm has been sort of like my rival in a way. She has come closer to killing me than most other bosses in this game. And that is saying an awful lot. I should have healed while you were staggered. I should have definitely healed while you were staggered. Alright, you have... No! I'll be right back. Gosh. I need soul, dang it! Alright, so this is the part of this this whole area that I can definitely empathize with. If Godhome is not your cup of tea, just know I absolutely understand why. Sometimes when you take your time and you just like work as hard as you can to beat a challenge, and you beat it and you're sent all the way back to the beginning, it can feel like, yeah, just forget this, man. I'm not obligated to be here. I don't have to put in the work that I'm putting in. So if that's you, don't even sweat it. This is like so much of this game. There is so many elements of it that you can get so much out of this game without needing to pour your soul into every corner. I do it because I love it, not because I think I have to. On the other hand, I do think all of these challenges are very approachable. This is definitely some of what I'm doing right now The all bindings thing is some of the hardest stuff you can do, but Just Got Home itself is some of the coolest challenges I've ever played in a game. And that's why I do the bios, is I want people to feel like they can do it. All it takes is learning, knowing. Have I mentioned how much I hate you? I should, whatever. We got through it, that's the most important part. Okay, I'm back, here we are. Welcome back to the Broken Vessel. And that last fight was a great example of what I was talking about down in the Hall of Gods. Just don't psych yourself out against this guy. So if you do and you start panic reacting to everything he does, you're just going to jump right into him. But as long as you remain calm, carry on, he is no problem. Except for this. Since we have reduced soul, we do have to do that kind of the old-fashioned way. But unlike with the original fight, we do have the ability to double jump out of the way of some of these blobs. And there we have it. Okay. That really should have been that easy in the first place, but here we are again. We're back. Oh, okay.
Ah, will the gods not relieve us of this troublesome speck? How it tests us, seeing this worm raise its filthy weapon to the gods. Thou hast luck beyond luck, O speck. The gods of this pantheon, for purpose beyond our understanding, allow you amongst them. Truly the divine punishment they must be planning for you will be beyond all reckoning. Prepare thyself. Prepare thyself. Thou cannot linger here, O coward of cowards. Step forth and receive thine holy punishment. O gods of Hellenes, show us your might. We shall attune ourselves to thee and ascend ever higher.
Our foe stands before us. What happens when you set down your sword and pick up a brush? Do you forsake the art of combat, or do you create a new art form entirely? Well, Shio, I think the real question is, how do you measure up against not one, but both of your brothers? Is your brush really so threatening that it would outpace 2 Nailmasters at once? No, not even a little bit. Shio is one of the easiest bosses we've fought in a while, but it's not for lack of trying. Whatever he lacks, he makes up for it with a sheer number of projectiles, with nearly all of his attacks producing a volley of paint globs that must be carefully avoided. He has the blue stroke, the red stroke, the yellow stroke, the great stroke, and the leap. The blue stroke is fairly basic, but definitely his most threatening attack in close quarters, with the combination of the first strike and the 3 blobs covering a lot of ground in front of him, and the attack coming out fairly fast. In a vacuum, dodging away as soon as you see this attack starting up and then immediately dashing back in will work pretty well, but for reasons we'll get into later, this isn't entirely reliable. Instead, because of this attack's quick startup, you'll want to spend most of this fight about a dash length away from Shio to begin with. Then, when he uses this attack, you can dash in underneath the paint and get in some damage. I also want to point out something. More of a fun fact than a tip, but Shio's paintbrush can be parried. Good luck landing that window, but it's kinda neat. It means that in a way, the brush is a blade. The red stroke is one of those odd attacks that looks much harder to avoid than it actually is. Here's the sweet spot right here, just on the outside of the innermost blobs. He gives you more than enough time to avoid everything as well, but if things do get tight, you can always fall back on Descending Dark. The yellow stroke is sort of the odd attack out, creating this long yellow slash which covers most of the stage instead of a series of projectiles. This is definitely the hardest single attack to dodge, because it comes out almost as fast as the blue stroke and has an incredibly large and instant hitbox. It can be avoided either by jumping or with some well-timed invincibility frames. Here's the main problem, and why I always recommend staying a dash length away from Shio unless he's just attacked. If you're close to him and see him winding up, you basically have to assume that it's the blue slash, because if you wait until you can tell, you won't have enough time to dash away. But if you dash away preemptively, you might not have enough time to jump if it turns out to be a yellow slash, and you can't cover both bases by jumping away or else the projectiles from the blue stroke will hit you. So again, just keep a dash length away to begin with. The Great Stroke has the clearest telegraph of the four, charging visibly, the same way as Oro and Mato's nail arts. The initial slash isn't particularly threatening. With so much wind-up, there's essentially no reason for you to be in its range when it comes out. The real threat here is the cascade of purple blobs that fall from above after he's finished. Avoiding them on their own wouldn't be an issue, but Shio will use another attack before they've landed, and pretty much all of them can be very tricky to avoid while also paying attention to the purple rain. My advice? Don't bother. Once the purple blobs start falling, just use a Descending Dark and hide behind its invincibility frames. Finally, the leap is something I'm really glad we've almost seen the last of. Once again, this attack can either target you directly or be used just to relocate, and while you should always fall back on dashing beneath him when he jumps, there's no substitute for simply paying close attention to the arc. Now, much like his brothers, before we break down our game plan, we're going to look closely at Shio's game plan. Shio is a ranged fighter. He wants to keep his distance and keep you at the far end of his attacks. You may have noticed that all three of his grounded attacks have essentially no way of striking behind him, so if he were to let you easily slip back there, he would be extremely vulnerable. To avoid that, here's how he operates. If you're a ways away from him, Shio will consistently spam his 4 paint attacks, one after the other after the other. If at any point he finishes one of these attacks and you are close to him, he will always try and get away from you. Usually, this will be by quickly sliding backwards, but if his back is close to a wall, he'll perform a leap instead. After he's done either the back step or the jump, he'll use another paint attack. If you didn't know all this, Shio would seem sporadic and tough to pin down, but since we do know all of this, we can take advantage of his rigid behavior. Essentially, this will play out a bit like a turn-based battle. Shio will attack, after evading, you'll attack, Shio will maneuver away from you and then attack again. As long as you're close to him when he finishes attacking, you'll already know that he's not going to attack until he's either backstepped or jumped first. Once he has either backstepped or jumped, you already know he's about to attack. So essentially, you've got precognition for this fight. Congratulations! Don't get too complacent, mind you. Try and keep Shio on your screen at all times. You don't want him surprising you with an off-screen yellow stroke. The Great Stroke is the only real sticking point, as it can be difficult to plan around every possible action he can take, whether or not you're accounting for the influence your proximity has on his behavior. But again, you shouldn't have to worry over much about it as long as you're ready with some Descending Darks. If all that sounds like a bit much, there is very much another option. Throw on a bunch of soul-centric charms and spam ground pounds in his face. This will by no means get you through the battle scot-free, but if you're looking to just get it over with, it'll do the job. Alright, now, at the end of my script here, I've written a World of Paint joke, but I can't bring myself to say it. It's too terrible, even for me. That's low. I kind of love Shio, but at the same time, he's very weird. Like, actually dealing with him and figuring out how to, like, sort of treat him like a turn-based battle like I recommended is very awkward to do in a game that is obviously not turn-based. But I don't really have the option of just face-taking all the damage that he can do and focusing him down. So this is gonna be the option. Luckily, his stagger stats make him pretty easy to heal off of, and this is probably the biggest reason why this is an easier Pantheon than the first. Oro and Mato, as you may recall, could not be staggered. Ooh, that was close. And because of that, healing against them, especially in the second phase, is entirely unreasonable. There's just about no way to do that. So, this guy giving you a couple of moments to breathe each time you do enough damage makes him a much more approachable foe. We get the achievement Inspiration. And when we beat something with all of its bindings, everything turns this really bright gold, and you get this fancy sort of headdress on the challenge door. Now, honestly, I have no idea how much time of that is going to end up being footage, because there were 2 attempts that I'm going to either be fast-forwarding or cutting out. So why don't we jump right back in to the Pantheon of the Master and see if we can attain the same thing. Actually, hold on. Before I do that, I want to show you what happened from getting those first 4 seals. And this door down here, it seems 4 of the empty notches around it have filled in. If we get 4 more, that top door will, or that top notch will be filled up. And it seems like that's a pretty worthwhile milestone to get to. But on third thought, I think I want to try something else, something that I've actually never successfully done. We're going to overcharm ourselves here, because instead of going for the all bindings challenge, I'm going to just bind my shell and go for something different. Oop. And that is try and do it without getting hit. And that's the main reason I've chosen to bind my shell. And that is, it just makes starting over a little bit faster. But I'm gonna just go ahead and speed this up so I can focus, because doing 10 bosses in a row without getting hit, even on the easiest bosses in the game, that's no small feat. Gosh, that was the smoothest Dung Defender fight I've ever had. That was awesome. No! Ah, dang it, die! So close. Oh. You jerks. While I'm here, I guess I might as well show that he has unique dialogue for rematching Pantheons.
Thou return to this pantheon? Though thou hast already ascended to its height? Be this some strange way of drawing thyself closer to the gods, or do thee test thyself for sport?
Definitely the second one. Oh shoot, I thought you were doing the other one. I don't know why, because the other one doesn't happen from that far away. Alright, that hurts. Moss? Massive Moss Charger got me? Oh, goodness. Alright, I have to hang up my good at Hollow Knight hat here. Yeah.
This is a real low point. Yeah, this one hurts.
What? Oh, shoot. I didn't even see what happened there. Alright, I'm not even counting that one. That was just dumb. But the game's gonna count it, though. It's too soul greedy. Oh, he got me! Oh. Woo, this is taking a while longer than I thought it would. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so bad at this right now. Ah, shoot. No, really? He got me with his stagger? God. Dang it. I'm just inventing new ways to get hit now. You know, eventually I will have gotten hit in every possible way. By which point, I will know every possible way to avoid getting hit, theoretically. It's like the infinite monkeys principle. You were so close. Oh my gosh, I can't get past Dung Defender. I was doing so well. But we passed it. Maybe we can get a little further. Okay, yeah. Dang it. This is hard. Nice. Just real nice. I missed my nail pogo! Ooh, that was the smoothest hornet I've ever had. That was so fast. Oh, shoot. Oh, that's weird. Falling only did 1 damage for some reason. And that should bring us through the other side of the fight. Unless I dodged the wrong direction. Oh my god! Yep, oh dear, I got... Yeah, that's supposed to do 2 damage. I don't know how I managed to only get hit for 1. That's a strange glitch. I guess you could say this game's got a couple bugs in it. I did it again. Woo! No, you got me in the corner. I thought the corner was safe. It's kind of weird. This is usually the situation where I would put on a YouTube video in the background just to like chill while I throw myself at this wall over and over again. But this time I'm the YouTube video. Oh my gosh, I made it back to Malik. This never happens. Alright, I've definitely lost my nerve now. I am nervous as all get out about this. Okay, alright, we beat Malik. Oh my goodness, this is really hard. Alright, boys. Let's bring it on. I hate you. I hate you with a burning passion. Did that first one just pass straight through him? I cannot stand that. No, I meant to do it. Okay. Okay, now we just gotta... No! No! Just gotta close it out strong. Finish strong here. Here we go. I can use spells to do just that. I don't need to bother with you at all on a physical level. I did it! Oh! Woo! Oh, okay, that took a whole lot of time. Alright, when you do it without getting hit, the middle one gets kinda gold, I think. Or it's supposed to. Hang on, isn't that what it looked like before? Okay, yeah, so I just checked, and it turns out I was thinking of something different. There is one Pantheon where that does have a visual difference, but only one. This one, it's just not there. There's a flag in the game's save file code that can tell if you've beaten files hitless, but other than that, there's actually no difference here. So don't put yourself through that, would be my recommendation. It is a way, like, smaller reward than getting the 4 bindings, but the 4 bindings is a way, way easier challenge. To such a degree. Yeah, see? Easy peasy. And for having done that, that's going to completely override the soft glow that we had in the middle from doing it hitless. So basically, there is no reason whatsoever to do both. So whatever you do, learn from my errors and do not do those hitless. There is no benefit whatsoever. But for filling out 8 seals, we open the secret door down here and find some sort of lifeblood dream thingy majiggy thing. And if we look down and sort of wiggle the camera down between up and down, we can see an old friend of ours, or at least as insofar as we can make friends. And I like this a lot. It's sort of like saying that the abyss creature is strong enough to be here, but we'd never fight them. Their true power remains a mystery. So what did that actually do? Well, from now on, in any of the pantheons that we take on, there's a new little section to each of the hot spring areas, which will contain a lifeblood little cocoon with 3 life seeds inside. This is really, really cool. It is a way that sort of permanently makes them almost any challenge that we can undertake just a teeny bit easier. Just make sure that if you do pick up those lifeblood cocoons, not to sit on the bench, because those will go away and the cocoon won't respawn. So, you know, there is that. But that is more than plenty for this episode. I have to go now because I have a lot of footage to edit down for this episode. Oh, who knows what we're doing next time. We're just going to bask in all that we've accomplished this time. See you guys later.